Okay, good evening, Gotham. Welcome back, Metropolis. Emerald City, Xanadu, Babylon, to the ISS, and the rest of you. Welcome back to Hour 2 of a Quantum News Network production of the Scooter McGee Show. I am he. Find me on the World Wide Web at 1310kfk.com. I can't type, talk, and text at the same time. So much for autopilot there. What was that? We're live in the CRP 4x4 studios. It's Take Out the Trash News Friday. It's Friday, June 1st, 2018. We got Joshua Card on the phone with us from South Korea. Now, Josh, you are just still outside of Seoul, right? We benchmark you as being in Seoul, South Korea, but you're not. But you haven't, left and gone back to Bangkok, Thailand, or traveled since we spoke last Friday, have you?
No. I'm
Okay.
here for a while.
Okay.
I'm about 3.5 hours due east, southeast of Seoul.
All right. Hold on, because how much time do you have to talk with us tonight?
I'm here. I'm not doing much today. This is
Okay.
a relaxed day, clean the apartment, et cetera, et cetera.
It's Saturday. It's domestic detail day. I know. I got farmer's market in the morning. I got things to do too, buddy. Okay. I have to have a conversation here this weekend with Kevin Blake. This having to do with the distribution now deal with Genesis Communications, the creation of the new website, and digital footprinting. And a conversation, your name came up actually at lunch on Tuesday with another listener / supporter of the show. And they asked, and I said, well, I don't know, I have to ask, okay? Are you married with kids or anything? Is there, well, here, I don't need all the personals. Here was the question. You've got that guy over in South Korea. I'm like, yeah. Well, he's a teacher, yeah. It's summer. Is there a way, if we set up a GoFundMe page, you could send him to go cover the peace talks? If we were able to raise the money, A, how much do you think it would be? B, are you in a position where, you wouldn't piss off the wife and kids by staging your death or anything like that? And we could put you on a plane and we could put you over there. You know the region. Have you traveled to Singapore? That was the other. I didn't know. Have you been there?
No, I have not been to.
Are you allowed to travel there with the whatever travel papers you currently have? Because I did say, well, he's an American. He's in South Korea. He's a teacher. He's been in other places, so I'm assuming he can freely travel. I don't know. Help me understand. Could we send you to Singapore?
Well, my travel abilities, anyone's travel abilities depend on their passport, their nationality. It depends on what Singapore has in their policies regarding landing visas. Do I need to apply one? Do I need to apply for one ahead of time? To my understanding, I could be wrong. I'll have to double check. I wasn't expecting this. That I could, as an American citizen, I can get what they call a landing tourist visa. It's a visa upon arrival. They just stamp your passport, take your fingerprints, and you have a certain amount of time to be in the country.
Yeah, I was told a couple 3 days.
Okay.
You're not going for a week. You're over in that theater and you want to go visit a particular city in a country. You can get what you called it, but a standard visa, which is, they're good for like 72 or 96 hours or 5 days or 7 days or 10 days or whatever. Just a standard quick, you're in and out. You're not staying, you're not job hunting, you're just a tourist.
Okay. Well, to answer the questions, no, I'm not married. I don't have any kids.
Okay.
I guess that's a good thing, I suppose.
I don't want to dig into privates other than, would there be anything privately that would preclude you? Again, teacher. Well, we still think teachers get summers off. That's not always the case. Right. So for all I know, you can't take a week off to jump on a plane and go cover what's to cover. Get some pictures outside the building, talk to the people, get us some sound clips, and we page your way, and you know we figure out a way that legally we were able to pay you.
Wow. I tell you, I'm quite flattered by that intriguing possibility.
All right, so you think about it, do a little
would be-
research over the next 24 hours or so. I got to talk to Kevin on Sunday. We got to reboot the website for Monday's show, and we'll certainly touch base before I go hot because, yes, if we need to raise, okay, it's going to cost arbitrarily. I'm pulling numbers out of my butt. It's going to cost $1,200 airfare, all right? And it's going to cost $200 a night for a hotel, all right? So, well, we're at $1,800 there. Fine. He needs a couple $100 for taxis and you know interpreters or sushi. I don't know. And then you give us a couple reports. You go back wheels up. You go back to work and back to Seoul. And okay, coverage was good. Yep. Did we broadcast it? Yep. Okay. Well, then we pay him a per diem, $100 per. Okay, you were there. It's fine. Then we send you an extra $100 a day for doing it and. In theory, it should be legal. We'd have to double check with the lawyers, but it was only for me to ask you on air, so we get it on air. Okay, yeah, because this could be something. This could be huge. It could be nothing. But then I want to get back to the original question of, as we talked about, the Western idea of the boardroom and negotiations versus the Far Eastern mentality of negotiations in the boardroom. When it comes to even the simple offer of, yep, okay, we're coming to the table, we'll flip the bill. Would that even would that be insulting to the people of North Korea? Or, again, the question that I originally asked was, reverse it because the people of South Korea. Remove being called, you know, a cash-poor pariah state with all the other rhetoric. But would that be considered an insult based on Far East culture?
You know, I don't think so. You know, it'd be hard for me to really, you know, give an objective answer to that. I mean, I don't know the mind of the North Korean people. I mean, South Koreans, I think they would kind of expect that courtesy. I mean, we have been allies for, you know, technically for, you know, over half a century.
And yet we're not, in the eyes of the North, we're not an ally. We are an enemy.
Right. I mean, but at the same time, what good does it do to compound hostilities and rhetoric by not showing them, I guess, even if it's, you know, false, but showing them the respect that diplomats generally usually are supposed to receive. You know, look, I'm not an expert on diplomatic relations and how the protocols are spun or how they're intertwined and or how they're played out. But what I will tell you, I don't know if this has been reported in the West at all, but I'm looking at an article from Yonhap News Agency. It's one of the media outlets here in South Korea. And it says, likability of North Korea and U.S. leaders rise among South Koreans, according to a poll. Now, granted, I think you and I see polls in a similar way. You know, they can be used to anyone's advantage for any given time to serve a certain narrative. But for that purpose, it's according to Gallup Korea survey of 1,002 adults nationwide between Tuesday and Thursday this past week, the favorability rate of President Trump rose 8 percentage points from March to reach 32%. So theoretically, you know, amongst a certain age group, 32% of South Koreans favor President Trump. And then in this same period, the ratio of South Koreans who view Kim Jong-un favorably also surged from 10% to 31%. And the poll showed, which it has the ME, the margin of error, 3.1%.
Yeah,
points
so
and
standard is here in the West, still a standard plus or minus 3 points. When was the previous poll taken, however? Was that back before the end of the year or before or after the Olympics or just 2 weeks ago? When was the first poll?
I can't find that. This current article came out yesterday. For me, yesterday, June, which is today for you.
Right. Yes, correct. Okay, we are 17 after the hour. Joshua Carr joining us from South Korea. He's on the phones with us, 877-353-1310. We'll keep those phone lines open. We've got headlines all over the place for you now on social media at 1310kfk.com. Stand by. We'll be right back.
What may be junk to you just might be another man's treasure. From stamps, sports memorabilia, silverware, or old jewelry, what may be junk to you just might be another man's treasures. Located at 2002 9th Street in Greeley, Another Man's Treasures can take these old items and convert them into cold, hard cash. Located at 2002 9th Street, remember Another Man's Treasure.
Matt Rivette started in real estate just in time for the bottom to fall out of the market. And it turns out it was a good time to start. From day one, Matt Rivette had to do it right. Serve the client. Turn for sale into sold. 32 years later, we know market conditions will change. But Matt Rivette's commitment to you won't. This is a good time to get to know Matt Rivette at Pro Realty. List your commercial, income, or residential property with Matt Rivette. Call Matt Rivette at 970-356-1234 or go to ProRealtyHomes.com.
Well, I'm glad to hear Chris is okay. What's the condition of his car?
It can be fixed. I'm just waiting to hear from my insurance adjuster as to where.
We'll take it over to Auto Collision Specialists. They've repaired my cars for years.
I wanted to, but my adjuster says I'll have to pay additional costs out of my own pocket to have it repaired at Auto Collision Specialists.
Stop. You pay your insurance premiums in good faith every month with the expectation that if you have an accident, your insurance company will pay what's necessary to repair your car correctly. In many cases, that's not what happens. Scare tactics like threatening to make you pay out of pocket or not warranting the work are tricks that will not be tolerated at Auto Collision Specialists. You can rest assured we have your best interests at heart and will do everything in our power to make sure your insurance company fulfills its commitment to you. Remember, insurance companies don't fix cars. We do.
Auto Collision Specialists will take care of that.
So you think the Pawn Stars are in Vegas, huh? Have you been to City National Pawn? 3301 West 10th Street in Greeley, and you're the Pawn Star. With great deals on commercial and industrial tools, electronics, smartphones, laptops, and fine jewelry, so many great deals and a constantly changing inventory guarantee you get the best deal in town at City National Pawn. Need quick cash fast? City National Pawn has got you covered there too. Monday through Friday and Saturdays, remember, you're the Pawn Star at City National Pawn, 3301 West 10th Street in Greeley.
Last time on the Hull Show.
Kelly Lyle joining us from the Fort Collins, Colorado, and our CSU Rams insider. There's a lot of question marks surrounding Colorado State's football team.
There really are, more than I think we've seen in a while, where you've had kind of some established stars, some guys you knew you could just count on. But there's nobody going into the season that really fits that on this team, and that was kind of shocking.
This has been the Hull Show replay. For more, tune in weekdays from 11 to 1 on 1310 KFKA. Cutting-edge commentary from the edge of reality. The Scooter McGee Show is back on News Talk 1310 KFKA.
Good evening, Gotham. Welcome back to a Quantum News Network production. This is the Scooter McGee Show. I'm he. You can find me on the World Wide Web, 1310kfk.com. Sorry, I'm busy here having a text message war with somebody. See? It just went off again. This is me telling people to go to the ScooterMcGeeShow.com and send emails was a really bad idea. And I'm old. Now I got to put my glasses on to read. All right, welcome back. Turn that off. Put these down. We're taking an in-depth look inside the headlines now. What we're seeing in the West and the rhetoric. Also agree what they're seeing in the East, Far East, equally could be rhetoric. Does it compare? Does it side up? Always more than two sides to a story. It has to. Even a sheet of paper has three sides. front and back and the peripheral edge. And oftentimes more facts can be found in the peripheral edge than are being presented from a left side or a right side of the document, a front or a back, top or a bottom, black or white. So to help us gain some insight and some of the other headlines we might not be seeing over here, Joshua Card back in Southeast Asia. He's in South Korea. Welcome back, Josh.
Hey, thanks, Scooter.
All right, so back to the headlines you are seeing there.
Yeah. Okay. First off, remember the caller you had last week, Lane Smith? He was right. He told you that the summit would be back on, and sure enough, it's back on. And I'm trying to get him to chime in tonight. He's got some really good insights and information, but he had a bad experience with being put in Facebook jail for his realistic and conservative views. And he's pretty hot under the collar, and I suggested he should call in and talk to Scooter about that. He loves stuff. He loves things like that, and being, the social media of guilty until proven innocent, that's really taken hold in Facebook, and maybe it has something to do with that May 24th purge. Anyway, I hope he calls in. So back to this article, the likability of the North Korean and U.S. leaders rising among, South Koreans. It also goes on to say that the senior citizens were more favorable towards Trump, with 53% of the supporters of the main opposition Liberty Korea Party and 44% of conservatives endorsing the U.S. president. And now, in regards to how that reflects on Kim Jong-un, 40% of South Koreans in their 40s and 50s expressed favorability for him. Now, granted, favorability is kind of an umbrella word, whereas it says only 16% of those in their 20s liked him. That's quite interesting. Usually, it's the younger generations that are quite misguided in those in those terms of what to like. And so, among the supporters of the ruling Democratic Party, which is what they're in control now, the favorability of Kim Jong-un exceeds 40%. And then it says, while only 20% of the supporters of opposition parties and nonpartisans expressed such a feeling. So, what does this have to do with anything? Well, first, it kind of counters the carpet bombing of the anti-President Trump agenda in the United States, where here in South Korea, they kind of like the guy a bit. I don't see a lot of, now before the election, there was a lot of vitriol and umbrage against President Trump while he was running, but now, as of late, I'll say the last 4 to 6 months, there's not as much. It's really kind of declined. There's not a lot of hostility, if any, that I see thrown at President Trump. So it's definitely you're getting a tale of two cities here to some extent, and the headlines are reading, Trump puts North Korea summit back on for June 12. Trump says, no new U.S. sanctions on North Korea while these talks are being commenced. So, and it's generally the other articles are just kind of the same. South Korea's foreign minister briefed. South Korea's Blue House, which is the equivalent of our White House, keeping a watchful eye. Top diplomats of South Korea, U.S. share information. Much progress made with North Korea. I mean, this was yesterday. The meeting with the vice chairman of North Korea's ruling Workers' Party Central Committee, and what's his name, Kim Yong-chol, and Secretary of State Mike Pence, in New York City. They came
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, not Mike Pence.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Foot in the mouth. They had a working dinner, and they began their high-level talks. Now, granted, I think my friend Lane had pointed out that what did he say? The guy who went to Washington or went to visit Pompeo. One of his jobs was to write the joint statement they will give after the meeting. So the meeting's kind of for show. But whatever, politics is a theater and the art of the possible. We've talked about that before. And so it just, what can we say? I mean, as Lane said, the stupid media will consider anything less. That full peace is a loss. I mean, they won't consider anything less. That full peace is a loss. So the puppet masters, they don't want the peace. They want to keep the angst and the anxiety and the conflict going.
Well, then on that third side, then, China, because we did talk about them. We talked about possible the influence or who's wanting what outcome when it pertained to China and Taiwan. So I guess fundamentally the first best question, what is the hype, if any, or the media, if any, or drive, if any, right now regarding China over in Seoul?
Well, I was briefly, just, an hour ago, I guess, I was just kind of looking over the online version of the Shanghai Daily. And they really had, I think I saw two articles, that were mentioning what is going on. I saw two. And after scanning through 2 or 3 pages, I said, okay, I've seen what I need to see. Now, granted, that's just one media outlet in China. I mean, there's Beijing, there's Guangzhou.
I guess my question of perspective was South Korea media play, for lack of a better word, on China.
I see one article. I see one. It says China expresses intention to play a role in declaring a formal end to Korean War. So, I just pulled that up, and that's kind of all I saw. Well, now this is on Yonhap. I didn't check every outlet looking for anything about China, but it doesn't seem.
All right, and on the Chinese side, they're not. And on the Chinese side, they're not hyping, or they're not hyping or poo-pooing as of today, June 1st. Now June 2nd for you in South Korea.
Well, there's a reason for this, and I think there's a reason.
All right, hold that thought. We're at bottom of the hour, 30 after, 30 to the top from the CRP 4x4 studios. I'm Scooter McGee. Stand by.
Hi, this is Stacy Keach, host of the Twilight Zone radio dramas. Each week, I'll present one of Rod Serling's classic Twilight Zone stories, fully dramatized for radio. Each show will star one of your favorite entertainment personalities, supported by an outstanding ensemble cast, Twilight Zone music, and special sound effects. So be sure to cross over into that fifth dimension on the Twilight Zone radio dramas.
The Twilight Zone, Sunday nights at 11 on 1310 KFKA.
1310 KFKA's First Alert Weather, powered by Denver 7.
Clear skies tonight with a low around 50. Sunny on Saturday with a high of 80. Sunday 82 with a few afternoon storms. Monday through Wednesday, low 90s, only a slight chance of any storms. Have a good weekend. I'm Denver 7 Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson, 1310 KFKA. This weather update is brought to you by CRP 4x4, located at the corner of 9th Street and 21st Avenue in Greeley. Call them at 970-351-8603.
What's the secret to getting any vehicle to last over 200,000 miles? Pretty simple. It's all about reasonable maintenance. At Auto Tailor in Greeley, the maintenance packages are a great way to stay on top of your vehicle's condition, not to mention giving you peace of mind. At Auto Tailor, you won't be given an unrealistic list of the 1,000 fixes needed to make your car new again. You'll be told what the problems are and the fastest way to fix them, so you'll be back on the road safely. Give it an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. Auto Tailor is the smart, reliable choice for your vehicle.
Matt Rivette started in real estate just in time for the bottom to fall out of the market, and it turns out it was a good time to start. From day one, Matt Rivette had to do it right. Serve the client. Turn for sale into sold. 32 years later, we know market conditions will change, but Matt Rivette's commitment to you won't. This is a good time to get to know Matt Rivette at Pro Realty. List your commercial, income, or residential property with Matt Rivette. Call Matt Rivette at 970-356-1234 or go to ProRealtyHomes.com.
I'm a cool guy. I listen to hard rock and pay attention to sports.
And watch science fiction.
I go to the gym to get ripped.
And the Nerd Store in downtown Greeley at 807 8th Street for a good game of D&D with my friends.
I drink beer and eat steak.
And peruse the selection of comic books and other nerdy items at the Nerd Store.
I have no time for nerds.
But you spend plenty of time at the Nerd Store in downtown Greeley.
Not true.
You were there until 10 almost every night last week.
Shut up, brain.
The Nerd Store, where everyone is welcome, even closet nerds.
The problem with most gyms is, well, they're gyms. Double Diamond CrossFit knows what it takes to get the results you're looking for. CrossFit is high intensity, short workouts designed to improve your core and cardiovascular strength. Double Diamond CrossFit has classes throughout the day with certified coaches. You show up, warm up, and build your better body, all with the support of the CrossFit family. Double Diamond CrossFit on the corner of 59th Avenue and 10th Street in Greeley. Call 970-302-2024. And don't forget to ask how you can get a free week on us.
Cutting edge commentary from the edge of reality. The Scooter McGee Show is back on News Talk 1310 KFKA.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Good evening and welcome back, Gotham, Metropolis, Emerald City, Xanadu, Babylon, to all of you. Yes, and the ISS too. All right, I don't suppose they're spying on the White House now too, are they? Interesting story up on social media regarding some of the signs of some rather sophisticated, in this case, phone spying around the White House in Washington, D.C. We'll get to that story later tonight. Gentlemen on the other end, flip on this day, and if we get to a zeros and heroes, we'll bump them to the bottom of the 30 in the 11 hour. Cool? All right. Joshua Carr joining us back on the phone. He's in South Korea. Now, as of June 1st, 2018, because a lot can happen, the scheduled talks, the peace talks between North and South Korea they're back on, but they've been preparing this. The advanced teams have been in Singapore the entire time preparing for this event, June 12th. We'll talk over the weekend to figure out if logistically possible, if we can send Josh to Singapore, we're going to do it. He can't stay in a presidential suite. I already did that gag. But this isn't a gag because we have to take a look at a global perspective now of what does really a denuclearized and unified Korean peninsula look like? Again, Kibono, who stands to gain? Who has the most to lose? And welcome back, Josh. Hey, Josh.
Thanks, Scooter. I'll have to say right now, I don't think I can go to Singapore. I don't have summers off.
Okay.
I have a week in the summer. That's the last week of July. I have a week in winter plus all Korean holidays. So I don't have that.
So we
that
could.
Option unless
I
wanted to lose my job here.
No, we don't want that. The goal would have been to fly you out on Monday the 11th and have brought you back to South Korea by Thursday the 14th, so you'd be back on the phone with us on the 15th like nothing. I mean, everything, but you'd have pictures and video and audio and some man on the street interviews. But again, we threw this. Did I send you a text or did I even give any hint that we were going to dump this on you? No. Did I?
No.
So don't feel bad.
I mean, it's but my boss, who's Korean, she wouldn't have anything to do with it.
And don't worry about it. And this is most likely, as historic this event may be, well, this would clearly just be one in what would most likely be then a series of meetings and negotiations and steps. We're not going in June 12th and coming out world peace by the 15th. That's not going to happen, even in the most utopian societies.
Absolutely not.
So, but yeah, back to the discussion at hand. I mean, literally, who benefits the most for a denuclearized and a unified Korean peninsula, but who stands to lose? And I guess that was the better question I should have asked between China and Taiwan. Who stands the most to lose between the two, China or Taiwan, when it comes to a twofold? Three. A, the peace treaty. B, a denuclearized Korean peninsula. And a C, unified Korean peninsula.
Yep. Well, we have to look at it. Okay, let me take that back. It would be beneficial to look at this in the context of each nation putting their interests first. And there's this book that came out in 1948. It's written by, what's his name? Hans Morgenthau. It's called Politics Among Nations. And he lists 6 principles of political realism, which, no one really pays attention to. And one of those is realpolitik, seeing the world as it is, not the way you think or want it to be, which today's generation of snowflakes, exploring that possibility would make their heads explode. They would need a safe space. But principle 3 of these, 6 principles, it says, nations will always act in their own interests. This is defined by achieving power, where economists, you know what I mean. They measure money, anthropologists study humans, political scientists are concerned with the power. And the actual realized nature of power will change according to the temporal and spatial context. Certain situations, this definition of power can be an army of a broadsword, used as brute force. It could be information and propaganda. It could be soft culture, soft power, which we've seen China do. Nuclear weapons, improved relations for trade, etc., etc. But it says, regardless, power will always remain the one constant toward which nations act. Now, who benefits? Well, my friend Lane, who's refusing to call in, but he's starting to irritate me.
He's listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't text and talk to you and read at the same time, and he keeps dodging that.
I was having that problem with Gail earlier here on the show.
So I see one very glossed over article in Yonhap. China expresses intention to play a role in declaring formal end to Korean War. And it really doesn't say much. No, it just says the first summit on April 27th, this and this and this happened. China is a major party concerned with the Korean Peninsula issues and will continue to play a suitable role as a signatory armistice agreement. Okay, well, while I'm a little irritated with my friend, he did send me a great article, ironically, from the New York Times. And what benefits China is having the South Korean peninsula free of U.S. troops. And that's what they want. That is what they want. So in acting in China is always going to act in their best interest, just like nations do or should. China sees the prospect of progress toward a long-standing security goal, the withdrawal of United States troops from the Korean Peninsula. And I think that kind of hits the nail on the head. And so whatever they can do to do that, I think that's what they're going to do.
Well, you wanted him to call in. Memory serves. He's calling from the Pacific Northwest up in Washington. Lane is joining us on the phone. It's Lane Smith, right? Aren't you in Washington?
That was right. Actually, Josh just stole my thunder because he had brought that up, and you'd asked the question before. Basically, no decision is going to be made without China on board, despite the fact they don't appear to be invited to the conference. But they were also a member, one of the sides in the Korean War. I mean, they provided troops that were there too. They're going to have to pretty much okay anything that comes down. The other side is you were asking before, kind of who the big winner out of this is going to be, and the Chinese play a long game, and right now they're trying to exert their influence in the South China Sea and stuff like that. And the thing that they'd love the most is to get all the American bases out of South Korea right now. And there's no real reason to keep them there. They've been there as a deterrent to the heavily armed North.
Right.
If we come to an end of peace, I mean, we spend literally 100 million plus a year keeping all our troops over there. Trump has said all along that we're not going to we're going to have the nations pay their own way. They're not going to do it. We're going to bring our guys back. So you pull the major U.S. presence out of China, and all of a sudden, who's there as a deterrent against Taiwan or against South? They're ratcheting up their influence in the South China Sea. I mean, we've left the field, and I think that that's probably one of the reasons why China is pushing North Korea to bring this to an end now. I mean, we're talking what's been 70 years from the 50s clear till now. Whatever it is, 60, 70 years here, and I think that that's what they see as the real bonus.
Josh, your thoughts on that?
He's right. I mean, I'm saying I agree with him. We've talked about before, Taiwan kind of quite under the radar as of for a while, but there's a point to be made there. If there's no more U.S. troops here, Taiwan is in the mud. And then, what's between, what's the next step back? Well, we still have forces in Japan, Guam, Saipan. On one hand, I'd like to say just, pull our guys out. Just let these people do what they do. This is their side of the world. But, that simplistic thinking, we do something like that, there are going to be consequences. There's going to be a huge butterfly effect from that. So, but Lane is right. The Chinese they're definitely long-term thinkers in this, and that is their goal. Their national interest is to have U.S. troops off the Korean peninsula, and whatever deal or agreements they come to end the war. I mean, don't be surprised if they say, okay, we're going to do this, but troops got to be, they have to be withdrawn. And then what if the U.S. and President Trump don't agree to that? Oh, then what's going to happen? The media is going to carpet bomb Trump as another warmonger and yada yada yada. I mean, when this first all went down, Scooter, we had talked, that whole TV thing, Kim Jong-un crossing into the South, we had talked and we had discussed that, be ready, because no matter what President Trump tries to do, he's going to be made to look like, a charlatan. The press is going to hound him. If something goes wrong, it'll be all his fault. And look what we've seen. That played out. Even as Lane said last week, the meeting will be back on. It is. And what's the Washington Post doing? Oh, they're slamming him for it. Is it on? Is it off? Who's going to pay? Come on.
One thing I will say is I expect this conference is going to have some stutter steps. I don't think we've seen the end of this. I think there's going to be some testing. Part of it is China knows what's going on in the United States as far as the way the media treats Trump. And I think they're going to be seeing how much they can get away with. I mean, they want the best deal they can make. And I think we're going to see, come here, come here, come here, get away, get away, get away, come here, come here, come here, get away, get away, get away. The other thing I wanted to say, you'd asked earlier about the attitudes, one of the things that I said to Josh that we learned when we were there is, in Asian culture, whoever invites you pays. I mean, you have to eat what they want to eat. You have to sleep where they want to sleep. You can leave home without your wallet. and never spend a dime.
So what do you make of John Hudson's, the journalist who wrote the comment for the Washington Post, that, well, even if the U.S. offers to pay, that ultimately the North Korean people or the powers that be within diplomacy could see the U.S.'s offer to pay for it as seeing it as an insult? Do you agree with that?
No, actually, I think that they're going to see the U.S. as the host. I think that they expect us to pay.
And that's part of the, again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, just the Asian
I'm not either.
theater,
I mean, this
the
is
Asian
something
theater
that we
culture.
had to get used to.
That's
I mean,
part of their culture.
We went to whatever restaurant they wanted to go to. We ate what they wanted us to eat. We had very little say over what we got. But the other side is we didn't pay a dime. The host took you out and bought you whatever they bought, and you smiled at them and nodded and said thank you.
Understood. Joining us on the phone, Lane Smith. He's back in the Pacific Northwest. Joshua Card, of course, from South Korea. Well, he's in South Korea. He's not from there. Let's take a quick commercial break, 2 minutes, and we'll come back and wrap up hour 2 of Quantum News Network production of the Scooter McGee Show live from the CRP 4x4 studios.
What may be junk to you just might be another man's treasure. From stamps, sports memorabilia, silverware, or old jewelry, what may be junk to you just might be another man's treasures. Located at 2002 9th Street in Greeley, Another Man's Treasures can take these old items and convert them into cold, hard cash. Located at 2002 9th Street, remember, another man's treasure.
Matt Rivette started in real estate just in time for the bottom to fall out of the market, and it turns out it was a good time to start. From day one, Matt Rivette had to do it right. Serve the client. Turn for sale into sold. 32 years later, we know market conditions will change, but Matt Rivette's commitment to you won't. This is a good time to get to know Matt Rivette at Pro Realty. List your commercial, income, or residential property with Matt Rivette. Call Matt Rivette at 970-356-1234 or go to ProRealtyHomes.com.
So you think the Pawn Stars are in Vegas, huh? Have you been to City National Pawn? 3301 West 10th Street in Greeley, and you're the Pawn Star. With great deals on commercial and industrial tools, electronics, smartphones, laptops, and fine jewelry, so many great deals and a constantly changing inventory guarantee you get the best deal in town at City National Pawn. Need quick cash fast? City National Pawn has got you covered there too. Monday through Friday and Saturday. Remember, you're the Pawn Star at City National Pawn, 3301 West 10th Street in Greeley.
Last time on the Hull Show.
Kelly Lyle joining us from the Fort Collins, Colorado, and our CSU Rams insider. There's a lot of question marks surrounding Colorado State's football team.
There really are, more than I think we've seen in a while. Well, you've had kind of some established stars, some guys you knew you could just count on, but there's nobody going into the season that really fits that on this team, and that was kind of shocking.
This has been the Hull Show replay. For more, tune in weekdays from 11 to 1 on 1310 KFKA. Cutting-edge commentary from the edge of reality. The Scooter McGee Show is back on News Talk 1310 KFKA.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Good evening, Gotham. Welcome back, everyone from Metropolis, Emerald City, Xanadu, Babylon, ISS, and the rest of you. We're going to wrap up hour 2 here of the Scooter McGee Show. No, we got time left. Relax. Another 10 minutes. Lane Smith is joining us from the Pacific Northwest here in the United States with a perspective as from spending time over in the theater of operations as pertains to South Korea and the culture. If you have comments you want to chime in on, phone lines are open, 877-353-1310. Or live and local, 970-353-1310. Joshua Card, he's back on the phone with us. He's in South Korea. Gentlemen, welcome back. I guess I want to wrap up tonight with the question of merely hypothetically. We're all on the same page. There's going to be a series of steps, stutter steps, missteps throughout this negotiating, peace talking, table talking. We agree on that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Short term. In, for example, a 2-year period. I guess, Lane, I'll let you go first.
Well, the article that I read basically said that they thought the best outcome that could come out of this original meeting would be a end of the war between North Korea and the rest of the world.
I would agree. That's a great start.
Yeah, and that doesn't solve all the denuclearization, the other problems, with the sanctions we have against people that want to deal with them and stuff like this. But with the forays that he's made into South Korea, hugging, President Moon, this kind of stuff, I really believe that North Korea sees this as the first step. And you have to kind of look at this, if you look back to like the tearing down of the Berlin Wall, East Germany is a lot like North Korea, except they were a lot better off than North Korea. But, what that allowed, pretty much once you allow the influence in, North Korea has told their people that they're better off than everybody else. But that's going to be painfully obvious that was a lie as soon as this happens. Once you start allowing in media, in North Korea, you can be killed or sent to a re-education camp if they catch you with a DVD, a Southern Korean DVD, this kind of stuff. They really don't want the people to know how bad they've got it.
No.
But once you open Pandora's box, you're never going to stuff that back in again. And the other side is I believe that, Korea actually has a heart to help North Korea. And I'm pretty sure that China's pretty much willing to let people sit back and do it, although they don't want a lot of U.S. influence there. But if they can get South Korea to help build them up along with them, and probably Russia too, and can boot us out of there, they're the powers in the Asia then. I can't help but believe that that's probably our main military footprint in Asia is in Korea.
Would by default then, and forgive, so Lane, I'll ask for you first. Would it default then that China, if that played itself out, would then by default China become the superpower of the theater?
Yes. Russia may not be happy with that, but they would be. I think Russia sees itself as a major world power too. But the truth of the matter is they're nothing compared to China. China's got one of the biggest economies in the world already anyway, and are going to. Everybody says pretty much they're going to be it down the road here.
Josh, you agree on that take?
Yeah, I believe so.
How would the world be a better place or a safer place with China being the driving force, superpower-wise? I hate using that word, but
I can't answer that question because I don't think the world would be a better place.
I don't think it would be either, but I think this goes back to Trump's America First.
You don't see the Soviets?
He wants to pull our people out of areas where we're spending a lot of money taking care of other people.
Yep.
And I believe that in this way, his strategy may be short-sighted for America.
But you don't think that ultimately the Russians, the Soviets, and the Chinese would ultimately wind up fighting again?
Actually, it's a good thing you brought that up. I was going to say the only counterbalance will be I think Russia's afraid to let them get too much. And so I think that you're going to end up with probably the same kind of long-term conflict between China and Russia that you've seen between China and the United States, where we're friendly, but we're not friendly. We buy stuff from China, we sell stuff to China, but we're not really friends with China.
Yeah.
Not really.
No.
Because our views are diametrically opposed, and what we plan to get out of the world is different.
No, and you brought up earlier now, even Elizabeth Warren parroting it, but about the Chinese, that their march is, they think in incrementalism, not in the form of a political cycle or a year plan, 2-year plan, 5-year plan. No, 50-year plan, 100-year plan. That's how the Chinese run, and that's how they've run for centuries.
Right, but this is like we talked before. You got to realize, what was it, 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. We haven't been around but 500 years. The the Chinese and most of Asia can look at history, I mean, over thousands of years, the changes they've had. So we're the Charlie-come-latelys on the block that want stuff right now. We've got to have it right now. And unfortunately, our business is that way. You know, people will do bad decisions for their companies to have a positive quarter so they don't get voted out. And they keep doing this and keep doing this, where the Chinese will take losses or buy something that, you know, that's not going to pay off for them for 100 years because they have thousands of years of history of doing this that it's worked out for them.
Yeah, and the knowledge and experience, knowing the long term that their goals can be reached. Lane, thank you very much for chiming in with us tonight on a Friday night. Thanks again for your insight on this issue.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely.
Josh kept emailing me, telling me to call, so I finally gave in.
Good, finally, good. Peer pressure works. Josh, as always, thanks for taking time out of your busy week before your weekend kicks off here to give us the insight and et cetera and what's going on. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot earlier. It was just someone asked me this. I said, well, if he calls in, I'll ask. Okay. Well, yeah, no, ask him on the air because if we can do this, that'd be cool to do. But it's not something that may preclude us in the future, but don't sweat it, okay?
No, I'm not sweating it. And quite honestly, that kind of career field for me would, granted, I'd be starting out as a charlatan, but I can learn pretty quickly. But I would definitely lose my job here.
Well, we don't want that. That's the whole point. So you have a good weekend. Go back to work Monday. Don't tell them you were on the show. And thanks for chiming in with us. Joshua Card, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to the top of the hour, but we're going to be back. We've got a third and final hour from the CRP 4x4 studios of a Quantum News Network production of the Scooter McGee Show. I am he. You can find me on the World Wide Web, 1310kfk.com. All social media stories now up on Facebook and Twitter from that link. So in the meantime, hour two, opinions, views, and ideas expressed, as crazy as they may be, do not, I repeat, do not represent those station owners, management, staff, interns, or mascots. Take them with a deep breath, a grain of salt, and a shot of your choice in that order. Oh, remind me, Greeley Westside Liquor. Yes. Well, it is Stampede time. Like, I'm not drinking enough. Update on faking your death as a journalist when we return.
What may be junk to you